I want to go through some of the passive skill trees that I made up with, you know, a little bit of help from chat, a little bit of help from Grimro. So Grim and I had a little bit of a conversation last night. We went through all of the passive skills to just sort of figure out what is, you know, what is the best template for early mapping progression. And something that we sort of both came to the conclusion of is that we want to add as much juice into our maps without needing scarabs and things like that. So ideally, these passive trees are going to focus more on getting as much mechanics into your maps without actually needing to spend anything. So that means that you're going to be going through 128 maps, or however many it is, 113 I believe. And throughout the entire progression, you are going to be getting a free juice every map. So yeah, this is what it's based around. So this is the progression template that I wanted to follow, or that I recommend people maybe want to follow early league. This is something that you can do for basically any tree. It doesn't focus on any league mechanics specifically, and it leaves about 50 passive skills free for you to deviate from or choose whatever league mechanic you want to focus on. So this tree takes all of the free content, as well as it helps you progress your map tiers without needing to buy anything. So because we are losing bonus completion and serious completion and that sort of stuff, that also means that we are losing the additional maps that would drop from that, right? So that is why we go towards the map drop tiers, the map drop clusters, sorry. And I think these are very, very important, because these will give us 15% chance to give us a map of a higher tier. And if we take cluster 4, 6, and 9, that'll give us pretty much a 100% chance to drop +1 tier. So that is going to be pretty good for Atlas progression. And I think it's something that everyone should sort of focus on, depending on how hard it is to sustain maps early on, or how hard it is to progress your maps. We don't entirely know what it's going to look like, so it's completely up to you. And other things this contains is essences, strongbox, and harbingers, which I think are going to be insane, since they're pretty much guaranteed in all your maps. That means that you're going to be getting those every time you put in a map, regardless if it's magic, rare, or whatever. You're just going to be getting free juice. So yeah, don't mind chat over there. They're just spamming to they're just spamming to you know, they're just being, yeah, to distract me. But anyways, so what we want to focus on is scarabless content. That's what we want to do, because early on there's no supply of scarabs, there's no, you know, currency to buy the scarabs and things like that. So we want to progress our map tiers, and we want to guarantee the content. So we're going to be getting shrines, which give us, you know, a little bit of a boost, and additional packs, harbingers, strongbox, and essences. And within the first 20 maps or 20 map completions, we are going to be getting guaranteed content. As you can see here, we take the essence on 1, strongboxes on 2. Then we go for 3 shrines, that's additional packs. Then we go for 4, this is going to drop us more maps. We go for 5, although you can you know, you can take harbinger first or maps first. This order is just something that I would go for. It's not something that you necessarily have to go for, you know. It's just what I think is the best order. So yeah, once we've picked up the 5 clusters on the tree, everything else is to just basically enhance those mechanics that are going to be present in every map. So we want to first rush those 6 clusters to have the additional chance for tiers, and then from there we just want to take you know, extra clusters to sort of make those mechanics stronger, right? So we're going to take extra chance for additional essences, 100% chance for +1 tier on the essence, things like that, right? So those are things that you should you know, check out on the tree and see if you want to maybe take them, or if you want to drop them, regarding on how much they enhance the mechanic on, or depending on whether you want to focus on another mechanic. That is completely up to you. One thing that I want to stress is that this tree is very modular. There is very little bait, as people would like to say. They keep throwing this word around, bait this, bait that. I think nothing is really bait if you focus on a mechanic that you want to farm, and you find a niche and you want to make currency that way. By all means, there's very few trees, very few passives on the Atlas tree that are situational, but not really worth it to start. So I think it's completely up to you how you choose to sort of progress your tree. But just keep in mind that certain things are going to be stronger than others early on in the progression. So that is why I went through this process. And then we got not mandatory, but quite spicy. These final clusters here You know, they will enhance all our previous mechanics and they'll give us even more juice. The 10 cluster here is actually, I think, one of the strongest clusters on the tree. This gives us 60% more monsters per Harbinger, and it also has a chance to drop all the shards as currency instead of. So you can imagine that, like, maybe if you dropped 5 ancient splinters instead of that, it drops 5 ancient orbs instead, which is it's quite crazy to think about, but it's going to be a small chance. It doesn't tell you the exact chance, so you know, we're going to have to see how it goes. And on 12 cluster here, this essence cluster just gives us a +1 level of essence. So that's very good, because it's gonna, instead of, imagine if you have a shrieking, it's gonna go into deafening instead. You know, if you corrupt it into that or whatever. So yeah, that is very good. And we also grabbed the strongbox cluster. I think having a rare corrupted strongbox is pretty good for early, because if you rush this cluster and you have a strongbox in every map, the likelihood of you dropping a corrupted 6 link is very high, as you'd be running a lot of maps, right? There's 113 maps to complete, so you're going to be getting a few of those as you progress your Atlas. And alternatively, it's also worth it to take the operative strongboxes, because that means that in your progression, you're going to be finding maybe 6 to 10 of these, depending on your luck. And you're going to be getting clusters that way, which is, you're going to be getting scarabs that way, which is really nice. And that is the template tree. But I would like to talk about the tree 2, which is what I'm going to be using for my league start push. And this is going to be more specialized towards what I want to do, what I want to farm. So my tree is intended for early progression, and it's focusing on the same basic things, except it also has expedition and harvest. So this tree enhances expedition spawn chance to 18% and 11% chance to spawn harvest. It guarantees Harbies, guarantees strongbox, essence, shrine with packs, all of that stuff, map bonuses, and late progression into influence bases, which is something that I want to do with the new Exarch, flaming, you know, searing Exarch, and Squid Boy, Uber Squidward. You know, yeah, that's what we're going to be farming. So as you can see here on the top left, I will be branching out to either the Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds. It's the same amount of passives to travel right as it is to travel left, and that is because of the 0.2% chance to drop influence bases here with implicits. We don't yet know whether those can roll T6 or anything like that, so I will be doing this towards the end of the progression, seeing how it goes, seeing what the bases look like, seeing what the mobs look like, all of that sort of stuff. It is not something that I'll be rushing by any means. But yeah, I just wanted to put that out there and say that. So it is following very much the same progression, except that instead of going towards the middle, we still do grab guaranteed essence and strongbox, but then I rush into getting here expedition. So I would really like to get expedition in there as soon as possible, because I think early expedition for Gwen and gambling or crafting and that sort of stuff is really good, and that's something that I will focus on. By the way, this presentation will be in the comments, so if you want to look at this in your own time and read everything and look at the screenshots and get the Atlas passive tree links and all that sort of stuff, by all means, it's there. So because we're losing our bonus map completion, and map sustain will be prioritized early, so we can break into higher tiers as fast as possible. I want to break into higher tiers so I can get bases from ROG that are higher tier, or chancing bases with Gwenin, things like that. So grabbing percent chance for maps to drop to be one tier higher will help my progress. So that is why I'll be taking these clusters here. As you can see, the map cluster at 8, and I will be going into the bigger cluster later. I will focus on crafting, so that is my main priority. Crafting items for both myself and other people. The way that I actually do crafting is I don't have like a very specific strategy in regards to I'll be crafting for this market and that market and that market and that market. No, what I usually do is I craft for myself everything that is not quite up to scratch for my own build. What I do is I just sell it, and that is always a lot of profit. I generally tend to play builds that maybe more than one person plays. I'm not like into unicorn builds, maybe things that only you play or whatever. If that is the case, then maybe you want to focus on crafting for other markets. But you know, I'm gonna be playing my explosive arrow build, so I think a lot of people are gonna be playing that. So I think I'm just gonna be crafting for myself, for my build, and then yeah, be selling everything off from there. So crafting with ROG is absolutely insane, guaranteeing high tiers with +1 chance, you know, with the chance of him upping all the tiers and that sort of stuff is really good. And additionally, Gwen and Intuition are also very good for early because you'll be able to chance heavy belts, leather belts. Who knows? Maybe you get lucky and you get a headhunter, but heavy belts, you know, for Deity and Dawn is also good. Or you could also be getting just basically anything like Impulsa, Chavrons, Aracali's Fang, all of that stuff is going to be good. Seismic Trap is also still going to be very popular, so Cold Iron points, everything's good in that regard. Intuition just gives us currency, so that's good. The Harvest Gems will give me an opportunity to get various crafts as I progress, and that's just going to be helpful because I'll pick up some bases off the ground, and I'll just use the Chaos Reforges to Chaos Spam into some, you know, some good stuff there, hopefully. And then this follows sort of the same trend as this middle section of the tree, is just to further enhance the mechanics that I've already chosen to be present. And this is where we're getting into sort of like red maps, so we want to make sure that we are enhancing the content to possibly drop additional maps or to possibly sustain and all of that sort of stuff. So I will be making sure that I grab the strong boxes for the scarabs. I will be grabbing the big cluster at 12 for +1 map tier drop chance. I will be making sure that I'll get all the essence nodes as well, so I can craft with essences and things like that. And yeah, so Harby as well is going to be very, very nice for map sustain. That many monsters in our maps is always good for map sustain, so yeah. And we'll take a lot of quant as well here on the outside of this ring, and quant is always good for map progression, so yeah. And lastly, as I said earlier, the Searing Exarch or Eater of Worlds, I strongly believe that these influences bases are going to be insane. They're going to be dropping un-ID'd, but because they have an implicit, we're going to be able to filter them by the implicit. And what I plan to do personally is to make tabs full of these implicits that maybe people want to search for on trade, and I'll be able to sell them to people. So I want to make sure that I get into higher tiers as fast as possible, find these bases, and then potentially actually also do the bosses, because my build is actually going to be able to do all that sort of stuff, and then maybe even craft with the orbs. But I want to prioritize on doing the new content. I personally don't really care about the old content, especially in a league like this, an expansion where we're getting all this fresh new stuff. I want to see the new content. So I want to see Flaming Exarch, and I want to see Eater World. And I want to play around with the new influence spaces and that sort of stuff. So that's what I'll be focusing on. Alternatively, if you want to do the old content, that's completely up to you and it's completely fine. What's tried and true is always going to be good. So you can always grab those clusters instead of this. And yeah, that is going to be just fine. So the final thoughts is sort of something that I've already talked about throughout this here presentation. So the Atlas passives are intended to suit your playstyle. It is completely up to you. If you like doing heist, by all means, take all the heist nodes. If you like doing blight, take all the blight nodes. There's no wrong way to go about it. These are very specific to sort of how you want to play the game, and all of the passives are just very, very good. Although there are some passives on the tree which I think are very, very good and too good to pass up. For example, having a free Harbinger every map with the 60% more Harbinger spawn, that is just insane, right? You could skip essences. I think essences, everyone is going to go for them early. So what that means is that, you know, essences are going to drop in price quite fast. But I think for early progression, they're going to be very, very good, especially if you plan on using them to craft and things like that. You can always create more value by using the materials that you drop rather than just selling them. And that is completely up to you. Alternatively, also, you know, bulking up on those. People hate buying things one by one. So if you can provide bulk, you're going to be able to mark up maybe 50% of the cost on top for people that want to actually get everything done in one trade rather than 20. So yeah. There's also other things that you can focus on, like the Guardian maps or doing Elder and all that sort of stuff. These are not things that I'm going to be going into. This is something that if you want to go into an advanced strategy like that, I'm sure that you have your own passive tree, your own decisions to make. So I am not going to advise you on that. But I think all of these strategies are completely, you know, they're really good. It's not something that you should be, you know, going away from, because I think everything on this passive tree makes focusing on a specific thing good. And I also think because of that, regrets are going to be very expensive, and you know, we're going to want to be trying so many different things throughout the league. Although I think this is a huge step forward in regards to, as people like to throw this buzzword around, player agency, being able to choose what content you want to run and then enhancing that content. And I also really like the fact that they're giving us baseline a lot of juice. I'm really excited to go, and you know, I just can't wait for the league to start. and I really look forward to playing the league. So yeah, I'll be most likely modifying my strategy as I experience the new content. And you know, I also would like to tell you to keep an open mind and keep your ears open for potentially broken strategies as they're discovered. If you want to keep up to date with them, make sure you check me out on Twitch. If you like this video, please like the video and sub. That would be cool as well. But yeah, otherwise, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope this helped at least a little bit. Links in the comments. I appreciate you all. Thank you. Bye.